The call came on a Tuesday morning. I remember it clearly because I had just finished printing the final presentation deck for the Hartwell Group deal, a deal I had spent 22 months building from a cold email to a near-signed contract worth $14 million. My boss, Roland Kessler, sent a calendar invite with no description. Just my name and his, blocked for 30 minutes at 9 o'clock. I knew something was wrong the moment I saw it. Roland never scheduled quiet meetings without a reason. He was the kind of man who used silence as a weapon and surprises as entertainment. I walked into his corner office holding my coffee mug, trying to look calm. Seated beside Roland was Gina from HR, with a thin stack of papers on the desk in front of her. She wouldn't look at me when I walked in. Roland leaned back in his leather chair the way people do when they feel completely untouchable. "Juliet," he said, "we're moving in a new direction. Your position has been eliminated." Just like that. No warning. No review. No conversation. 22 months of my work hanging in the balance, and he said it like he was reading a grocery list. Gina slid the termination papers across the desk. I didn't reach for them. Not yet. My name is Juliet Adams. I had joined Prestige Revenue Group 3 years earlier as Senior Sales Director. The role came with a base salary, a strong commission structure, and one condition I had quietly added myself, a handwritten note on Exhibit C of my contract, signed by Roland personally, that would later become the most important document of my life. But I am getting ahead of myself. Back then, Roland had recruited me away from a competing firm. He was charming in those early meetings, all smiles and big promises. He told me Prestige was different, that they rewarded loyalty, that top performers got to grow with the company. I believed him. Or maybe I was just hungry enough to take the risk. The Hartwell Group account came to me through a cold outreach campaign I ran entirely on my own time. I researched their pain points, drafted a proposal from scratch, and sent the first email on a Saturday afternoon. No one assigned me the account. No one helped me build the pitch. It was mine from the very first word. 22 months later, Hartwell was ready to sign a $14 million services contract. My commission on that deal was 10%. $1.4 million. My money. Earned honestly. Every single cent. Roland did not waste time on feelings. After the words, "Your position has been eliminated," he glanced at his watch like he had somewhere better to be. That was when the second blow landed. "Trent will be taking over your accounts," he said. Trent Kessler. Roland's nephew. 26 years old, 18 months at the company, zero experience closing enterprise deals. He had joined Prestige straight out of college and spent most of his time in meetings nodding along and adjusting his hair. And now he was getting my accounts. The room felt very quiet. I looked at Gina, who was staring at the papers. I looked at Roland, who was checking his phone. Neither of them seemed to feel the weight of what was happening. "The Hartwell account," I said slowly. "That deal is 6 weeks from closing." Roland nodded, completely unbothered. "Trent will see it through." There it was. That was the real plan. Fire me before the deal closed. Hand it to his nephew. Keep my $1.4 million commission inside the family. It was clean, calculated, and almost perfect. Almost. He slid a pen toward me. "Sign the documents and we'll process your severance by Friday." I looked at the pen. Then I looked at Roland. "I'll need to review these first," I said calmly. I sat in my car in the parking garage for 40 minutes without moving. The termination papers were in a folder on the passenger seat. My hands were steady, which surprised me, because my heart was hammering hard. I was not panicking. I was thinking. 3 years ago, when I first reviewed my employment contract, I had made one quiet and deliberate change. I asked Prestige's legal team to add a clause to Exhibit C. The clause was very specific. If I originated a client relationship and led the negotiation process, I remained entitled to my full commission for any deal that closed within 18 months of my termination, regardless of who signed the final contract. Roland had signed it himself. I remembered watching his pen move across that page. I did not negotiate that clause out of paranoia. I negotiated it out of experience. At my previous company, I had spent 14 months building a corporate account, only for my manager to quietly reassign it to a junior colleague 3 weeks before it closed. The commission, around $200,000, went with it. I complained through proper channels. HR said the contract was clear. I had no grounds to fight back. I swore that would never happen to me again. When Roland offered me the position at Prestige, I accepted on one condition: Exhibit C. I drafted the language myself, then worked with my personal attorney, Owen Hartley, to make every word airtight. I handed the revised contract to Prestige's legal team without fanfare. They reviewed it, raised no objections, and passed it to Roland for signature. He signed it on a Thursday afternoon in a conference room with bad lighting. I shook his hand. He smiled like he was doing me a favor. What he did not understand was that he had just signed a guarantee. A safety net I had stitched together with great care, because I had already learned the hard way what happens when you trust a company to do right by you without written proof. The Hartwell account was originated by me. First email, first call, first meeting, first proposal. All documented. I went back inside to pack my desk. That part was humiliating. Everyone could see me. Some colleagues looked away. Others gave me small, apologetic smiles that said everything and nothing at the same time. Priya, my closest friend at work, walked over and hugged me without saying a single word. I squeezed her hand and told her I was okay. I was not ready to explain the clause yet. Not there. Security gave me a brown cardboard box. I packed my planner, a framed photo of my mother, 2 notebooks filled with client research notes, and the small cactus I had kept on my windowsill for 2 years. I picked up my box and walked toward the elevator without looking back. I called Owen that same afternoon. He had been my attorney for 4 years, ever since he helped me draft the Exhibit C language before I signed with Prestige. He was calm the way good lawyers always are, like the entire world could be on fire and he would still ask you to slow down and speak clearly. "They fired you," he said flatly after I explained everything. 6 weeks before a $14 million deal closes, I confirmed. Silence. Then, "Send me your full contract tonight." I emailed him everything. The full employment agreement, including Exhibit C. 3 years of email records. Every client origination document for the Hartwell account. Every proposal, call summary, and meeting note I had saved. I had kept copies of everything on a personal hard drive at home. Not because I had planned for this exact moment, but because I had learned long ago that documentation is the closest thing to armor a working woman can wear. Owen called me back 2 hours later. "The clause is solid," he said. "You originated the Hartwell account. You led the negotiations. The deal is expected to close within the 18-month window. You're entitled to the full commission." "What is our next step?" I asked. "We send Roland a letter," Owen said. "Friendly at first. We give them one chance to do the right thing before we make things truly uncomfortable for them." While Owen drafted the letter, I started hearing things through Priya. She texted me updates from inside Prestige like reports from the front line of a slow and steady disaster. Trent had been given my office. He moved my carefully organized filing system into a storage closet and replaced it with a standing desk and a gaming chair. He sat where I used to sit and told the Hartwell account team he was bringing fresh energy to the deal. Fresh energy. I had spent 22 months learning the Hartwell Group inside and out. I knew their procurement director by name. I knew her 2 assistants, her communication preferences, and the exact language she favored in contract summaries. I knew that Hartwell reviewed new agreements on Fridays and never signed anything in the first week of a month. Trent sent Hartwell a follow-up email with 3 spelling errors. Priya forwarded me the screenshot. I stared at it for a long time. My phone rang on a Thursday evening. Unknown number, but the area code was local. I answered. Juliet. The voice was calm and professional. This is Natalie Osei from Hartwell Group. I sat up immediately. Natalie, I said carefully. It is good to hear from you. She got straight to the point, the way she always did. We received communication from someone named Trent at Prestige Revenue Group. He said he is taking over your accounts due to a departmental restructure. That is correct, I said, keeping my voice steady. Juliet, I want to be honest with you. A short pause. This deal was built on our relationship with you personally. The Hartwell board approved moving forward specifically because of the trust we placed in you. Bringing in someone new at this stage makes us very uncomfortable. My heart was beating fast, but I kept my voice calm and even. I understand completely, Natalie. I cannot speak to Prestige's internal decisions, but I want you to know that every piece of work we did together is real, and everything is fully documented. There was a pause. Are you still involved in this deal in any capacity? She asked. I thought about Owen's letter, about Exhibit C, about the 18-month clause sitting in a signed contract. I am working on that, I said quietly. Keep me informed, Natalie said. Then she hung up. Owen sent the formal notice to Prestige Revenue Group on a Monday morning. It was 3 pages long, polite, precise, and devastating in the way that only careful legal language can be. It outlined my origination rights under Exhibit C, referenced the full Hartwell account timeline, and formally notified Prestige that I intended to claim my complete commission of $1.4 million when the deal closed. The letter gave them 10 business days to respond. Priya told me the office reacted the way offices always do when something real happens. Whispers in hallways, urgent meetings with no clear agendas, and HR suddenly extremely busy with nothing they could discuss openly. Roland's assistant printed several copies and walked them to his office. According to Priya, he came out 20 minutes later looking like someone had spilled something hot on him. He gathered his legal team and disappeared into a conference room for nearly 2 hours. That evening, I received a voicemail from Gina in HR. Her voice was stiff and careful. Juliet, we have received correspondence from your attorney. We are reviewing it internally and will be in touch soon. I saved the voicemail immediately. Then I sat back and thought about Natalie's call. 2 separate forces were now pressing on Roland from 2 completely different directions. Good. I used those 10 days wisely. Owen and I built the case file together, piece by careful piece. I pulled every single email connected to the Hartwell account, from the very first cold outreach message I had sent on that Saturday afternoon, all the way through the final proposal draft I had submitted the week before I was fired. 214 emails, 47 meeting notes, 11 proposal versions, 9 recorded call summaries. I had the origination trail mapped out in a detailed spreadsheet showing exactly how the deal had progressed, month by month, with my name attached to every single touchpoint. There was not one interaction with Hartwell that Trent or Roland could honestly claim any credit for. Owen reviewed every document and said 4 words, "This is rock solid." I also made careful note of something important. My first email to Hartwell was dated 22 months ago. Roland had terminated my employment with the deal approximately 6 weeks from closing. If Hartwell signed within that window, the clause would be triggered. The commission would be legally mine. The only way Roland could defeat me was if the Hartwell deal never closed, or if it somehow closed after the 18-month window. But he needed the deal to close desperately. He just could not afford to pay me for it. That was his trap. And he had walked right into it himself. Prestige's legal team responded on day 9. Their letter was 4 pages long and filled with language designed to sound confident while actually saying very little. The core argument was that my commission rights had ended with my employment, that Exhibit C applied only to deals I personally closed, and that since I was no longer an employee, I held no valid claim over the Hartwell commission. They had not read the clause carefully enough. Exhibit C did not say I had to close the deal. It said I had to originate the client relationship and lead the negotiation process. The word close appeared nowhere in that language. Owen had been very deliberate about that exact word choice when we drafted it 3 years ago. I read their response twice, then called Owen. They are arguing the wrong point entirely, I told him. Exactly, he said. They think this is about employment status. It is not. It is about origination rights. They have misread the clause from the very beginning. What do? We write back, Owen said. This time we include the full origination timeline, the exact definition from Exhibit C, and 3 case references from comparable commission disputes. We give them one more reasonable chance to settle before we file. I approved the response that same evening. Somewhere across town, Roland was making a very expensive mistake by underestimating a document his own hand had signed. Priya called me late on a Wednesday night. Roland had a meeting with the whole sales team today, she said. He told everyone the situation with you is a minor legal matter that will be resolved quickly. He said Trent is leading the Hartwell deal and everything is on track. Did anyone ask questions? I said. One person did. Asked what happens to the commission if the deal closes. Roland said it goes to Trent. I closed my eyes for a moment. There it was, clear confirmation that Roland fully intended to hand Trent my $1.4 million commission. He was not planning to absorb it back into company revenue. He was planning to give it to his nephew as a reward for doing almost nothing meaningful. Did Trent seem nervous? I asked. Priya paused. He looked confident, but he was asking questions about the Hartwell file all day long. I do not think he understands half of what is in it. Good, I said. I thanked her and hung up. Then I opened my laptop and looked at my origination spreadsheet again. Every date, every document, every signature on every proposal amendment. Natalie called again on a Friday afternoon. This time, our conversation went considerably longer. She told me the Hartwell board had been given an update by their own legal counsel regarding the Prestige situation. Hartwell's attorneys had reviewed the services contract currently under negotiation and raised serious questions about the change in account management happening so close to the signing date. She was quiet for a moment. That would actually be very helpful, she said. Could your attorney contact ours directly? Of course, I said. After the call, I sat very still for a moment. Then I called Owen immediately. Hartwell's legal team wants to talk, I told him. Owen let out a slow, measured breath. Roland just lost his leverage, he said. Hartwell is no longer just a client. They are now a witness. Owen and Hartwell's attorney spoke for nearly 40 minutes on a Tuesday morning. I was not on that call, but Owen briefed me in detail afterward. 2 days later, Natalie sent Trent a written email. Priya forwarded me a screenshot. The message was polite but absolutely clear in its meaning. It informed Trent that the Hartwell board was pausing the contract signing process pending resolution of internal matters at Prestige Revenue Group. It asked for no further outreach until Hartwell gave explicit clearance to continue. Hartwell had pressed pause. Roland's timeline was collapsing fast. He had fired me specifically to secure the commission before the deal closed. But now the deal was not closing, because the client did not trust the person he had sent in my place. And every day the contract sat and signed made Prestige's end-of-quarter numbers look worse. Priya told me Roland had called 2 emergency meetings in a single week. Good. Let him feel every bit of that pressure. I was just getting started. Owen filed the formal commission claim on a Thursday morning. It went directly to Prestige's full board of directors, not only their legal team. That was intentional. Roland controlled the legal department. He did not fully control the board. The filing was clean and carefully organized. It included Exhibit C with the origination clause clearly highlighted, the complete documented timeline of the Hartwell account, Owen's 2 previous letters and Prestige's responses, a detailed financial summary showing that the $1.4 million commission had been earned through 22 months of continuous, fully documented work. The cover letter Owen wrote was exactly 1 paragraph long. It stated that if Prestige failed to honor the commission within 30 days of the Hartwell deal closing, we would pursue legal action in civil court and seek damages well beyond the original commission amount. I heard from Priya that the board received the filing on a Friday afternoon. Roland apparently left a golf trip early that same weekend to fly back to the city. I spent that weekend at home. I cooked proper meals. I reorganized my personal files. I slept 8 full hours on Saturday and 8 on Sunday. I felt surprisingly steady, the calm that settles in when the preparation is done and the work is simply unfolding on its own. The board had seen the clause. Now they had to decide what to do with it. On a Monday morning, I received a call from a man named Preston, who introduced himself as Prestige's general counsel. His voice was smooth and polished, the kind of tone built from years of delivering uncomfortable news as gracefully as possible. "Miss Juliet," he said, "we appreciate your patience. I wanted to reach out personally to explore whether there is a path to an agreeable resolution here." Translation: They were worried. "I am always open to fair resolutions," I said. "We would like to offer you a separation package," Preston continued. 6 months of base salary and a strong reference letter. In exchange, you would sign a release waiving any further commission claims related to your time at Prestige. 6 months of base salary. My annual base was $120,000. He was offering me $60,000 to walk away from $1.4 million. I almost laughed out loud. "Preston," I said, keeping my voice completely steady, "I appreciate the call. Please send any formal offers directly through my attorney, Owen Hartley." He paused briefly. "Of course. I just wanted you to know we are genuinely trying to be fair here." "I know," I said. "And I am certain the board found the origination timeline very informative." There was a short silence on the line. "Have a good day, Miss Juliet," Preston said tightly. I hung up feeling something sharpen and settle inside me. They were running scared. 2 things happened in the same week that shifted everything considerably. The first was that a board member named Arthur Finch reached out directly to Owen. Arthur was one of Prestige's founding board members, someone Roland respected but could not easily dismiss or manage. Arthur had reviewed the full filing carefully and had a pointed question about how Exhibit C had been handled during my termination process. According to Owen, Arthur's question was simple and direct. Did anyone on the legal team read this clause before the termination was processed? The answer, it turned out, was no. Gina had processed my termination using a standard checklist. The legal team received my file afterward. No one had flagged Exhibit C before Roland made his decision to fire me. Roland had terminated my employment without checking my contract for any outstanding commission obligations. That was a serious internal failure, and Arthur understood exactly what it meant. The second thing that happened was a text from Priya. "Trent just asked me where you kept the Hartwell call scripts." I told him I had no idea. She added 3 dots. Then, "He is completely lost." The deal was still paused. Hartwell had not responded to Trent's latest follow-up message. Every day the contract sat unsigned, Prestige's projections weakened further. The board was beginning to understand that Roland's shortcut had not saved the company any money at all. It had cost them a client. Arthur Finch called for a formal board review of the entire commission dispute. Roland could not stop it. 3 of the 5 board members voted to proceed with the review, and an independent mediator was brought in to assess my origination claim properly. The mediator requested 3 things: my full documented evidence, Prestige's counterarguments, and a statement from the client. Owen submitted my complete evidence file within 24 hours. Prestige's legal team took 4 full days and returned a response that was long on opinion and very short on actual supporting facts. They argued once again that my commission rights had ended with my employment. They provided no evidence that anyone other than me had originated or developed the Hartwell relationship. The third thing, the client statement, came from Natalie Osei directly. She submitted a written account on official Hartwell Group letterhead. It was 2 pages long. It confirmed that I had initiated all contact with Hartwell, led every stage of the negotiation, and was the only Prestige representative the Hartwell board had ever interacted with personally. Natalie stated clearly that the board's decision to pursue the $14 million contract was built entirely on the trust relationship they had developed with me. It was the single most powerful piece of evidence in the entire file. And there was absolutely nothing Roland could do to challenge it. Natalie answered to Hartwell, not to him. The mediation report came back in 11 days. I read it at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee going cold beside me. The mediator's conclusion was completely clear. The origination clause in Exhibit C was valid and fully enforceable. The evidence demonstrated without question that I had originated the Hartwell-client relationship and led the negotiation process throughout the entire 22-month engagement period. Prestige was required to pay my full commission when the Hartwell deal closed, regardless of who signed the final contract. The report also noted that Prestige's termination process had failed to properly account for active commission obligations prior to execution. That finding pointed directly at Roland's decision to fire me without conducting a thorough contract review beforehand. Arthur Finch called Owen the same afternoon the report was released. "The board will honor the commission," Arthur said. "We are also opening an internal review of the decision to terminate Miss Juliet's employment and of the handling of the Hartwell account transition." Owen sent me a message that evening. He added at the end, "Roland's authority over the Hartwell account has been suspended pending the review. Trent has been removed from the file." I read that last line twice. Trent had been removed from the file. 22 months of my work. And it had taken 11 days to bring everything back to where it had always belonged. The board directed Prestige's legal team to open settlement negotiations without delay. Preston called Owen the following morning and opened with a number, $800,000. I did not need Owen to explain what that meant. They were hoping I would feel relieved and accept something less than what I was owed. "Full commission or litigation," Owen told Preston firmly. Preston came back 2 days later with $1 million. Owen said no. Then Preston asked for additional time to consult internally. Owen gave him 48 hours, not a minute more. During those 48 hours, Natalie Osei formally contacted Trent by email and officially informed him that Hartwell Group was suspending all contract negotiations with Prestige Revenue Group indefinitely. She cited serious concerns about professional continuity and internal organizational stability. Hartwell had walked completely. $14 million gone. Not because of my claim alone. Because Roland had broken something that had taken 2 full years to carefully build, and he had done it without a second thought, in a single Tuesday morning meeting, believing it would not matter at all. When Preston called back after exactly 48 hours, something in his voice had changed. The smooth professionalism remained, but the quiet certainty underneath it had dissolved. "We are prepared to honor the full commission," he said. $1.4 million. Owen said he would need every word of that in writing. Preston said he would send it within the hour. The written offer arrived 90 minutes later. Owen went through every single word. Then he called me. "They are offering full commission," he confirmed. "But they have attached conditions. No public statements about the dispute. No disclosure of settlement terms to outside parties. And no future contact with former Prestige clients." I sat with that quietly for a moment. The no contact clause, I said. Does it name Hartwell specifically? Owen checked. It does. Then we cannot sign it, I said. Natalie may still want to work with me independently in the future. I am not willing to sign away a relationship that belongs to me. Owen was quiet briefly. That is a significant condition to push back on, Juliet. I know, I said. But they need this resolved far more urgently than I do. Hartwell already walked. Every day this dispute continues, it signals to the rest of their client base that something is very wrong at Prestige. They want this closed quietly. That gives us leverage. Owen went back to Preston with a counter. Full commission, no non-disclosure requirement, and no contact restrictions on former clients. In return, I would agree not to pursue any legal proceedings related to my termination beyond the original commission claim. 3 days of silence followed. Then Preston emailed Owen a revised agreement. The non-disclosure clause was removed. The client contact restriction was removed entirely. I reached for a pen. I signed the agreement on a Tuesday morning, exactly 3 months after the day I had been fired. Owen notarized the documents. Prestige's attorney signed on behalf of the company. The full commission of $1.4 million would be transferred to my account within 15 business days. Owen shook my hand when the signing was done. He smiled, which he rarely did during business. You prepared for this 3 years ago, he said. You built the entire case before there was even a case to build. I learned from experience, I said simply. He laughed quietly at that. On the way home, I stopped at a small cafe I had always liked near my apartment. I ordered the same coffee I always ordered and sat by the window. I watched people walking past outside, rushing to meetings, checking their phones, carrying their bags. The city kept moving without any pause. 3 months ago, I had walked out of a parking garage with a cardboard box and a quiet fury I had not known what to do with. I had held it carefully, turned it into something useful, and let it work steadily for me. $1.4 million was not just money. It was proof. Proof that I had done the work. Proof that I had known my own worth all along. Proof that a signature on a contract means something real if you take the time to understand exactly what is written in it. The internal review at Prestige did not end quietly. Arthur Finch's board investigation concluded within 6 weeks. Its findings were never officially made public, but Priya kept me informed from inside the building. Roland Kessler was asked to step down as CEO. The board framed it as a planned leadership transition in a carefully worded internal memo, but everyone who had followed the past 3 months understood what had actually happened. He had made a costly, irreversible decision without reading a contract, and it had slowly unraveled everything he had built. Trent resigned 2 weeks after Roland left. Gina from HR was quietly transferred to a much smaller regional office. Hartwell Group eventually signed a major services contract, not with Prestige, but with a competing firm. The deal was reported to be worth $12 million. 14 months of groundwork I had built, redirected away from the company that had let me go without a second thought. I felt no joy watching any of it. Seeing a company collapse never feels like true victory, it feels like waste. Wasted time, wasted trust, wasted human potential. Good people like Priya were still inside Prestige, doing their jobs honestly, dealing with the slow fallout of decisions they had never been part of making. I sent Priya a thoughtful gift and a short handwritten note. You were my anchor through all of it. Thank you. I started my own advisory firm 4 months after signing the settlement. I named it JULIET Group, a combination of my first name and the word current, because I wanted to move forward, not backward. Natalie Osei was one of my very first calls. She had not forgotten our conversations during those uncertain and difficult weeks. She asked if I was accepting new clients. I am, I said. 2 months later, JULIET Group signed its first contract with the Hartwell Group. Priya left Prestige and joined me as operations director. Owen handled our legal structure from day one. I brought on 2 former colleagues who had watched everything unfold from inside Prestige and were ready to build something better, something honest. We worked out of a clean, open office with wide windows and good morning light. I thought sometimes about that Tuesday morning, Roland's leather chair, Gina's averted eyes, the pen sliding across the desk in my direction. I thought about the parking garage, sitting completely still for 40 minutes, choosing to think instead of panic. And I thought about a younger version of myself sitting across from Owen, carefully and quietly drafting the language of a clause that almost no one would ever bother to read, until the moment it mattered more than anything else in the world. You cannot always predict when someone will set the trap. But you can decide, long before that moment ever arrives, whether you will already have the key. I had mine, and I had known exactly when to use it.